Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic, and welcome to this Sunday night edition of the Wacky Woo. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. And please welcome KERRY Cassidy. You can find her, of course, on her Amazon page here. She is the author of The Rebel Gene, Secret Space, and the Future of Humanity. And you can find her also on her website at projectcamelotportal.com. KERRY, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Nice
Excited
to be.
Nice to have you on, KERRY. Excited for this conversation tonight. And folks, also please join me in welcoming Joe, Jason4. You can reach him here at Jason4 on YouTube and also on his Patreon at patreon.com/Jason4. Joe, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
Yep, doing pretty good.
You guys excited for this brand new world shaping behind just below our feet? It appears that things are getting crazier and crazier by the day. We just had this UAP conference, and this is the conversation we're going to be drilling into this evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here in the live chat. We are triple casting at the moment on YouTube, X, and also here on Rumble. We are going to be cutting the YouTube feed maybe within 10 or 20 minutes or so. So please do come and join us on X and on Rumble for the full no holds barred conversation. Before we start, I wanted to share this with you guys. So first of all, a big apology for running late. We crashed kind of just as we went live before the show, and as you can see on the screen, there's still half of my slide deck missing here. Hopefully we'll be able to repopulate that here as we go live tonight. We're doing it live, guys. So essentially, my first question to both of my guests this evening, and that'll give me time to repopulate the deck here, is what you guys feel about this Trump administration and how that relates to the UFO file. Now, Joe, as you're on the screen now, the second administration for Trump, presumably perhaps the third term here, we can get debate into that in just a moment. But this time around, it appears to be very much different. His cabinet picks so far seem to indicate that he's not messing around. And it appears that we're going to see some very, very big changes soon. Now, there are a lot of people on the opposite side of the fence who are arguing with some of the appointments and who believe that maybe Trump is the new boss, same as the old boss, so to speak. Where do you stand on that right now, Joe? Are you cautiously optimistic with this win? And what do you see how this administration can have an impact here on the UFO file? Joe?
I'm not cautiously optimistic. I'm totally optimistic. Like, again, the whole thing, the Trump, the time traveler book and Baron Trump thing and the 1800s and remember, it was a few years ago and it was like, oh, it's 70 years, 7 days, 7 months, 7 weeks, like all these sevens were coming in with him. And, with Entheos talking about, like your kids, you don't know it yet, but your kids, the kids are going to be talking about President Trump in the future. Trust me. And not for negative reasons. And I believe him. You saw his cabinet picks. Like, he's not playing around. It's just like heavy hitter across the board, everything. It's like, God, he's, of course the left is freaking out. Oh, we can't let that guy in. Adam Schiff is running his mouth, all these people. And I'm going, it doesn't matter. I just don't see them having the power that they've had. I think it's going to go away. Like he keeps talking about the golden age. We're going to have a golden age. I totally believe it. It's time. Again, the whole 20, I was talking with her a minute ago about the, I guess she had on a long time ago on her show, Dr. Law Violet. And he was talking about superwave theory. And she's like, oh, 2012 is right around the corner. There's that. And he goes, well, it's about time for this alignment with the center of the galaxy. So yeah, he goes, I can't put a date on it, but it's definitely like we're overdue. It's ready. But all of that, I think, again, the ages and everything, these 2000 something odd time frames of these different ages we go through, like, it's time. It's time for the beginning of, the new age, so to speak. And I don't mean new age, just the new age we're entering into, age of Aquarius. And I'm just, again, it's like almost like it's like divine providence. Like, yes, he's there. Yes, he's going to do it. Yes, he's going to win. Yes, check off all the boxes. It's just like it's like it's written in stone practically. So I'm totally optimistic about it.
It's very karmic indeed. I remember you and I doing probably our first show 5 years ago, and we said something to the effect that we don't know that we've won yet, and those guys don't know that they've lost yet, right? So we seem to be entering that period of time now. Kerry, as I'm rebuilding the slide deck here live for the show, I have that first shot there. I wanted to show the audience members. Let me ask you the same question also. This new administration here seems to have the wind beneath its wings, so to speak. Here, we're seeing amazing team being put together. But at the same time, this last UAP conference from the last week seemed to suggest that it's the same old players asking the same old stupid questions. And for our audience members, we're a little bit disappointed from that. We'd like to see this go a little bit further. Now, what's your take? Where is Trump going to go here on the UFO file? Kerry?
Well, I think he is definitely going to change the world. I think that he's already doing that. I have had dreams of the future. My dreams of the future did say he would win. What's kind of interesting is the way he won is not what I thought it would be. And I think that's true of a lot of people, that in some ways it seemed too easy, too smooth, something's up. And so I just don't know where we're headed at the moment. I also get the feeling that we changed timelines. So we had a timeline jump. And what I'm noticing is there's a split in the world outright, you know, people and people that are talking about stuff, because I have people coming at me and they're all obsessed with what in essence feels like the old timeline. And they're throwing this stuff at me, how doom and gloom and this and that. And basically it doesn't resonate. It's not feeling like that's where we're headed anymore. And so it really does feel like we went through a jump, I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, it's almost like going through a Stargate. We're partway through the Stargate, but we haven't come out the other side. So we don't know what the other side looks like or where we're going to land. So it's really a sort of sensation like that. And I feel like I love his picks. I think, you know, he's right on it. And I was doing a show with Louis Herms, and he brought up a point that a white hat had told him about what the picks are all about. So a lot of people are like all paranoid, saying they're all Zionists. And, you know, Greg Reese made a video. The thing is that what they don't realize is how, number one, is how the white hats operate. And so they have a method to their madness in a sense. So what they do is they'll get one who's on one side of the street and they'll get another one who will balance them. And so that's a lot what's going to go on behind the scenes here between the different players that he's bringing out. And I think what we're going to have is people that are straight shooters that are willing to tell him what they really think. And that's what we need more than anything. So we don't need bullshitters. And that goes for the UAP hearing as well. So you didn't ask me that yet. But anyway, just saying that, no, I'm really happy. I feel really upbeat about the future at the moment. And now I know there's a prediction out there, which it actually started at the end of July, where Cliff High said, you know, a 9/11 type event. And Dick Allgaier at the same time said the same thing. That was end of July. People don't remember. But fast forward to recently, he said it again. I don't know if he remembers that he said the same thing. It didn't happen last time, and it hasn't happened yet. But sure, Juana said over and over again, a Cuban Missile Crisis type event, not happened. Okay, maybe this is all in the offing. You know, we haven't come up to those moments yet. But I think we have to stay, you know, awake and aware. And but if you're asking me how I feel great. I feel very positive. Look, I can extend what I'm saying in terms of Trump, because Trump, his uncle, and the connection to Tesla, that's his Trump card, okay, that he brings to the world, that they won't and they can't kill him because of that. So people that are seeing all this stuff, all these attacks on him, yes, they're attacking him to show that they can do so. They're trying to flex their muscle and throw shit at him, but they're not trying to actually kill him because, again, the Trump card. And that may be related back to the Barron Trump thing and the whole thing. There's also the situation, which is that this is what Juan has talked about many times, which is that Trump was mentored by Nixon. And Nixon was Eisenhower's right hand during the Cuban Missile Crisis, during the Bay of Pigs. and that he was dealing with not only the Nazi paperclip scientists who had had ET interaction, but at the same time, nice pick. But at the same time, the ET thing was huge, and Nixon, it was said, Nixon used to pace in his office and talk to himself. He couldn't get over the ET thing, which is why the CIA plotted to take him down. And it was a complete plot. The Watergate Hoax is a book by Ashton Gray, and I highly recommend it. It doesn't even cover everything, but it really goes a long way. Woodward is nothing like you thought he was. He was trained, and there's another whistleblower come out recently, a CIA agent, who is talking about how Woodward was already read in, working for the Joint Chiefs, no less. Okay. So way back when, so he was not just like some, journalist that was adventurous and so on and so forth. And it just goes on and on. I mean, the things that are going to break and that are breaking now, the truths that are coming out are changing everything.
It very much appears that way. Okay, so thank you both for that first opening statement. I have to say that I am also very optimistic. I feel what you guys are feeling, it feels different in the air, so to speak. And to your point about going through this event horizon or this wormhole, it's kind of like we're all in this different territory and we still don't have all the tools and the discovery mechanisms to kind of feel around here in this new reality. So we're going to get into some of those cabinet picks. We're going to get into this evening tonight some of the quotes from or video segments from the UAP conference from last week. But I wanted to touch on this, Joe. When you and I had that, I guess one of the first shows on the Wacky Woo, we talked about a new era of time where humanity would have to, I guess, address somehow the fact that they're not alone and to start building in themselves the capability of dealing with other races. And for the longest part, we've been ridiculed, marginalized, and told that this thing is nonsense, right? So humans don't have that reflex yet to deal with other races. Now, we're barely on the cusp of being able to deal with each other here on the planet, but now we're going to be perhaps on the stepping stone of having to have bigger conversations. Where do you think all of this is going, Joe? Are we there yet? Are these UAP conferences baby talk, milk toast kind of approaches here to bring people to that first fact that we're not alone, and two, perhaps that we are going to be entering here this sci-fi world where we are going to have relationships with other ETs, perhaps even in this lifetime? Where are you on that, Joe?
Yeah, my biggest thing right now, I'm going, why? Boy, they really seem, it just seemed like they really rushed that out so fast out of nowhere. Hey, we got to have this hearing. Oh my God. What? Whoa, settle down. I mean, why right this second? We already had the little other one before that, which was nothing burger. And then this one too, to me, was a nothing burger. But at least this conversation's happening.
Mhm.
And but the back of my brain's like, yeah, don't forget about Project Bluebeam, though. They could be doing all this to, oh, we're going to have ET neighbors, and oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden they pull that nonsense on us to try and push that away from us again. And, you know, our friend Tori has been saying, yeah, but what happens if the real ones show up and go, hey, that you know, like you're lying on us. Here we are, and we're real. Take that fake shit out of here. Uh-oh, they're going to be in trouble. You know, those who are trying to push the blue beam stuff. And, you know, I listened to her very carefully because I know she's in the know somehow. But yeah, it just seems awfully strange that all of a sudden there are other just quick rapid fire hearings and all this stuff. And, you know, just it's weird to me, to be honest with you. But I mean, at least people are hearing it, right? The normies are going to hear this, and they may look at this and go, holy shit, that was incredible, you know. And we're like, yeah, it's just like, you know, you're watching a show over there. But
it's kind of watching the Sound of Freedom movie to some extent. It did wake up a lot of the normies to the adrenochrome, the trafficking and all that. But for people on our channel, it's like, oh my God, they didn't go far enough. There's way more to have the conversation on. Kerry, let me ask you the same thing here. Do you think this UAP conference is it a tit for tat for Trump? Are they trying to direct the narrative here? Are they afraid of that connection that he might have with Tesla? On the Joe Rogan interview, what was funny, he did bring up his uncle at the Office of Alien Property. And we know that when Tesla died, his uncle had access to those information. So he kind of said it without saying it, that perhaps his administration would have something to do with putting back on the books, so to speak, or out into the open, a lot of this, what is still today secret technology, and perhaps relegated to these USAPs, unacknowledged special access programs. Do you think that the UAP, just on the heels of his victory, this conference we just had, is kind of trying to create a limited hangout, so to kind of prevent him from going to where he wants to go and bringing the conversation someplace else? What did you make of that UAP conference?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that Trump is, got that in his background, as I said. As far as the UAP conference and what's happening, and let me address the blue beam, because I've been talking about this for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say it again. I know a lot of people have heard, but Randy Kramer, like back in 2019 at a conference in Yelm, Washington, in the area of Yelm, Washington, I was speaking there, and so was he. And he's a Marine. He's still a Marine, but he claims to have been on Mars and, excuse me, and the moon, and as a soldier. And he was there with his handler. So he's still a Marine, and he's basically sponsored by the Marines. So he went on stage to say that within 3 years they were going to do Project Bluebeam in order to wake up humanity and have these fake aliens. And the reason they want fake aliens is so they can own the narrative and show that they can have battles with CGI and show that they can win. The reality is that I said, I actually asked this question in the crowd and said, how can you have a fake alien invasion when the real ones are here? And he came down off the stage. He wanted to beat me up. He lost his cool completely and stopped right before me. It was all filmed on camera. And of course, that never saw the light of day. So the reality is, and I've been saying this for years, and it's very nice to hear that Tories might be on that page as well. But the bottom line is that exactly, we have ETs here that are good ETs and bad ETs. Courtney Brown is saying, they're saying in 3 months, the ETs have notified them by telepathy in these meetings they're having, him and his remote viewers, saying that within 3 months, we're going to start a war with aliens here. The trouble is that our secret space program is split. The military is split. Some are bad guys. They got the technology from the ETs by trading humans. Okay. That's literally what's happened. They're not telling you that. So that's what the abductions are all about. Sure, people lived through the abductions with changes and whatnot, but some of them, what they don't tell you is some of them were killed and eaten and so on and so forth. This is where you get the 411 story about national parks and people disappearing and so on and so forth. So we're really talking about, we're right at the tip of the iceberg. I think first of all, let me say that the UAP hearing didn't just come out of nowhere. It's been planned for months. So everyone knew that was paying attention to that sort of thing, that they were going to do the UAP hearing. And I do want to say that, yes, it's part of a buildup to Bluebeam, because you can't have an alien invasion. It's kind of like when the Indians saw Columbus coming in the ships and they couldn't see, supposedly, this is the story, they couldn't see the ships because they had no frame of reference. So what they're trying to do is break through that barrier so that people do understand, because they spent so much time telling you it was a conspiracy joke, right? And so many people are like in that headset because they believe everything their government tells them. So only the ones who are awake, like me and you and everyone here, is saying, okay, well, we knew this was true. So if you're going to have a fake alien invasion, we're also going to know it's fake. The trouble is that bad ETs, or negative ETs, as they call them, will get on side with the negative secret space program and probably, mess things up, right? And they're going to come forward. do that thing. They can even volunteer. You have to understand how this is an open, it's not like a theater where you're just on a stage and you're not in a little, house or something. This is the whole wide world. ETs are here, but they're also extraterrestrials. They're off planet. They come in through portals, and that's part of what Solar Warden's all about. And I know I'm jumping ahead and throwing a lot of stuff out here, but it's really important to understand this is not a controlled environment where you can just say, oh, I'm going to show the people something on television and nobody else will see anything. It's not like that. We have people who are psychic intuitives like myself who have had contact since I was a kid, and others like that who are going to be reporting what they know. We have these channels, your channel, mine, everyone's who reports this as well. So this is not a closed system. It's an open system. And that's actually in our favor. So yes, I think that's happening. I think the UAP hearing is a conditioning for the normies. I think also that they did certain things like I was telling you about how they're actually lying. A lot of them did tell lies. So
We'll get to that. I'll play some clips later
under
on.
oath, but they're telling lies. And the reason you don't know that partially is because the cameras, one camera only, shooting over their head, like from the head down. So their head is down like that. You can't see their face or their micro expressions or anything like that. Whereas the Congress people, they managed to have a camera that could actually show their faces. Sorry.
That's okay. Let me bring up some of those screenshots just to show the audience members. I found it odd too, this camera angle for this conference. Again, they're looking downward, and you can't really see all of their faces when they're testifying to some of these questions. I'll bring up the group picture as well you sent me. It's very odd. You're right. So is that cover for some of the lying or the expected lying at this conference? We'll see, and we'll let you guys be the judges of that. We have a couple of clips we're going to share with you guys. But you mentioned something important, Kerry. I don't want to go too far past it. You talked about this 3-month period that some of the remote viewers and at Farsight and some other psychics were also talking about those 3 months. Now, Trump did say also, I believe it was just a week or two before the election, or maybe just a week before he won the election. He said something to the fact that he was more worried about the next 3 months than the prospect of a nuclear war with Russia. So he's also telling us that the next 3 months are absolutely critical. Did he mean the transition team for his government? Does he mean bigger concerns, perhaps off planet? We'll get to that here.
107 has been saying the same thing, the 3 months.
Right. Well, let's go back to that then. I think it was January or February of this year, I had you on the show, Kerry. It was on the War Correspondent show. And I think it's important for the audience watching the show here tonight to understand perhaps why and how we've had this turn of event here in the last number of months. And I have to relate back to this Antarctica meeting that had occurred, I think in December or January here, so just maybe 12 months ago or at the most, where apparently a shift of decision had been made from giving the power structure to the planet towards the east and then giving it back to the west and letting Trump into office. Can you just very quickly recount the stage as to what whistleblower was saying that, why they were saying that, and how now we're seeing perhaps a result of that decision and those new marching orders that were given at the Antarctica meeting, Kerry?
Right. Okay. So if I have it right, 107 went there, and he was pretty demonstrative about this, his travel down there. And at the time, now I don't know about if I got the numbers right, but I think he said either 100 or 1,000 people from Earth went down there at the same time. Okay. Now this was intel that I got from another source about what Juan told a group. So what happens is he said very little about anything about what went on, but I happened to have a guy who contacted me out of the blue, who was sort of a quasi remote viewer, and for some reason had remote viewed this event and saw the conference going on and saw a Nephilim come up out of the ground and, in theory, address the group. They were around a round table. And at the same time, what happened was this event that happened where Beetlejuice was actually obscured in December. So this, they went down there, I think it was in January, and you're going to have to check my dates and all that. But the bottom line is in December, not at the exact same time as the meeting, but prior to that, in December, which was like a month away, the Beetlejuice was said to have an asteroid. Now they called it an asteroid. It could have been a planetoid. It could have been anything. It could have just been a craft, a gigantic craft, which they do have. So, but it obscured the link up between Earth and Beetlejuice. And what was said to have happened is that because the link up was dropped, at that point, the AI, either in charge of Mars or another planet, took over. And that was what the people who went down in January were told, that this change had happened on planet Earth. Now, they didn't link it to Trump's election. I have put out an article recently because I have whistleblowers who came to me from the Illuminati. Why they come to me, I don't even know, but they do. And they are what I call sort of defecting, but they actually are still in the Illuminati. And at any rate, they say things and they don't realize that my brain is like, I don't know, in a way, it just is like a computer, because I remember, if you tell me something 12 years ago, I'm going to remember. Okay. So I have whistleblowers who had told me about 12 years ago that China was working with a different group of ETs and that no one liked them. That's how they put it. Fast forward to now, then I'm also hearing that the Illuminati had given a ton of money to the United States, had changed their backing basically of China and has moved it over to the US. We are not bankrupt. That's bullshit. We are actually swimming in money at this point, and we are backed by this group. Now, of course, the Illuminati are not a uniform group. There can be factions, and I don't know which faction and how many and all that, but I do know that this has happened. So what we're talking about is a kind of even a timeline shift, not in the conventional sense that you might think of it. It's actually, it's not like that. It's actually happening kind of almost gradually in slow motion, that all of these cards have been lining up to take us in a different direction. And that's what I meant earlier when I said it feels like we're in a Stargate, but we haven't come out the other side. So we don't know what it looks like exactly.
Right.
But I can tell that this is a change, and there is a change afoot. Now, what's interesting to me is that when Trump won, I don't know if you picked up on this, he didn't look happy. This is kind of weird. I thought he looked very subdued.
Mm-hmm.
So I attribute that to the possibly looking to the future, that what we have ahead of us is very, intimidating, I guess you might say, right? Because if you're coming into everything that you've been working for all this time, and then suddenly you know that there are so many of these dominoes that are going to happen, and that includes the arrests, these are portentous happenings. So I could understand where he would seem a bit subdued about winning. He wants to win. He's happy. He's delirious, I'm sure. But you know what I'm saying? In the moments of his win and his winning speech, I didn't get the feeling that he was overjoyed. What I got is he's looking in the future, and that he's very, how is it going to work? How is it all going to come out? I think we're really on the verge of all of that.
Right. Like the work is just now beginning. General
Right.
Flynn kind of said that 2-3 days after, also on an Alex Jones interview. Like now the actual work begins. And of course, they're referring to draining the swamp. I agree. The winning speech wasn't that hooray, yay, yay, yay. He did say, of course, he was going to run his campaign on promises made, promises kept. So I thought that was very apropos of him, because, we've seen a lot of things. We've heard a lot of things during the campaign. And that's why people were so excited about this campaign, as opposed to what was being presented by the Kamala Biden-Obama regime that just left office, or that are leaving office now. Joe, I'm not sure how I want to go through this part here. So let me see if I can re-find that on the slide deck. And again, guys, I apologize. We just lost most of our feed just before we went live. But there was this question about why Trump. I'll try to remember by heart here. Trump was having a rally just the other day, so after the election, where he was suggesting to Mike Pence that he changed something in effect that the administration would start actually on November 5 or November 6 of this year. So that brings us back to the conversation of we're going to go further here than the Antarctica meeting, the switching of the gears, so to speak. Now we have to go back to 4 years ago when Biden took office and the continuity of government situation took hold here in the United States. When he's saying that right now, and apparently his check color just changed also to gray on Twitter, suggesting that there might be a change of characterization here of his leadership moving forward. What do you make of that? Is this a first stepping stone to educating the people? On one hand, we have the UAP talking about the ET stuff and educating the masses, so to speak, as what's coming. But this idea of making his presidency active as of November 5 or 6, is that a way to bring out perhaps the white hat, the continuity of government situation that we're in, and to start talking about a quicker transition than waiting until the inauguration day? What did you make of all of that?
That was weird. Like what? Like, I'm sorry, when? How do you just start like that? Doesn't the vice president have to sign off on the electoral college, and it's going to be Kamala, or is it? Because we've been told that, hey, they may try to pull a fast one where he steps down.
Yeah.
Gives her the presidency for a short period of time, and she needs a VP. She's going to pick Gavin Newsom. And as Woo Dude told us the other day, he said, if you're Gavin Newsom and you've got California, since you're the governor, and let's assume this happens, are you really going to leave that position to just come into office for a month or so?
Right.
Like temporarily, or do you plan on not leaving?
So you think Trump is kind of front running that perhaps scenario that the Democrats would run to try to
possibly, but I mean, I still think it's, personally, I think it was going to happen. And I do want to mention one other thing, just to change back to the Project Bluebeam for a second. When she was talking, I was like, oh yeah, you should probably tell her. This is several months ago. I was just like, I got this like psychic download. It was like,
okay, hold on, Joe. Just before we go too fast, I just realized I'm still running on YouTube, and we've gone pretty far already on our stuff. But here's the link, guys. If you're on YouTube, please come and join us on X or on Rumble for the full no holds barred conversation. The link is down in the description box below there as well. So let me just disconnect the YouTube feed. Yes, and yes, remove.